Well, I think as you saw the president say in an interview with NBC last week, the answer is yes. The president has tasked his team with looking at a range of options, as he said, to make sure that nobody is put in a position where their plans have been canceled and they can't afford a better plan, even though they'd like to have a better plan. So you heard the president address this very issue in his interview last week.
All right. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Jay Carney yesterday saying that President Obama actually agrees with what President Clinton said yesterday when President Clinton said Obama needs to keep his promise, protect the people losing their health insurance policies, even if it means changing the law. Joining us now is a man who used to stand on that same podium and hold that same position for George W. Bush, a White House spokesman, former White House spokesman. Now, of course, Ari Fleischer is also president of Fleischer Sports Public Relations. Hello, Ari. How are you?
Steve, great to be with you.
Good to talk to you again. It's been too long. Okay, so first of all, before we get to maybe a critique, if you will, of the position that Jay Carney is in and how he's been handling it, the numbers that are out today, how is the administration, which has not said anything yet, how are they going to handle the huge disappointment? 106,000 people enrolled doesn't mean they paid for health insurance on the state exchanges and federally, and on healthcare.gov, just 26,000. And, of course, the overall goal was 1.16 million for the first month. How on earth is the White House going to handle that?
Yeah, Stephen, I'm glad you caught that discrepancy there because it is only 26,000 on the federal exchanges. So the numbers sort of mask the problem on the federal program. But the problem the White House has is it's a bad drip a day. And when you keep getting these drips, they add up and you get drowned. And that's the problem. Every day you get another piece of bad news about what's happening with the implementation of Obamacare. They had an obligation to reveal the numbers. They finally honored that obligation, did so today, and it's not news that'll make anybody happy.
No, but and again, so when Jay Carney comes out, man, when you watch Carney going through the drip a day, as you put it, and having these back and forths with, at least some of the media who's willing to ask the tough questions, and more apparently are feel emboldened by the fiasco that's obvious, and I guess they feel that if they don't, they're going to miss the boat. What do you think when Carney's subjected to these kinds of questions? You've had your own barrages to face.
Well, one, it's about time. I think Jay had it pretty easy for the first 4 years of the administration, and it's really been only in the last year that the press has done what they did every day to the Bush administration, and that was be tough, be critical, and not always believe the administration. On the other hand, for Jay, I think every press secretary feels a sort of a bond. Ideologically, of course, I have no agreements with Jay, or his boss. But, I know what it's like to stand at that podium, to get pounded, not to have good answers sometimes. And that's a club that press secretaries we all sort of suffer through it together.
Yeah, no, I guess you're members of a very, very exclusive club, not as exclusive as the President's Club, but maybe almost as exclusive.
Yeah, that's a better club.
All right. Now, let me ask you this. And in your role as an analyst on CNN, you talked about this a lot in the debate you had on there. And the Republicans, the latest polls show, not only is Barack Obama's numbers tanking, into the 30s, getting blown away figuratively by independent voters who are overwhelmingly just opposed to him. Now, his honesty and his trustworthiness taking a beating in the Quinnipiac poll, 53% say no. But we also now have Republicans pulling even with Democrats. They had been down by 9 points in the last poll in the generic congressional ballot. Republicans and Democrats are now even. So this is panic time for not only the administration, I would imagine, but also for the Democrats. As we've been hearing, they're marching into the White House saying, we're going to go with the Republicans and vote on some legislation if you don't fix this by Friday.
Exactly. This is a terribly timed double whammy if you're a Democrat. And the double whammy goes hand in hand. When the substance starts to fall apart, the poll numbers fall apart. When the poll numbers fall apart, it makes them split on substance. And that's what's happening now. The president's numbers have dropped to the lowest levels of his presidency. He has a deep substantive problem. And he has another one in the on-deck circle. Remember, we're about to go through the same fight we went through a couple months ago on a potential government shutdown and a raising of the debt limit. I don't think Republicans are going to make the same mistakes tactically they made last time. And the president might have to split from his liberal base, which is the only group that supports him anymore, to reach an agreement with the Republicans. So the Democrats are in a bit of a pickle right now. But, Steve, I've got to remind you, politics swirls fast. Republicans were in a bad position a month or two ago when they misplayed their hand on the government shutdown. It's the Democrats' turn now, but nothing lasts forever in this business.
And let me ask you, the way the media handled the government shutdown. First of all, they knew it would happen, the Republicans. But, of course, it was Ted Cruz and the Republicans who shut the government down, which, of course, isn't literally true. And you know, imagine the other way. Imagine if it was a Republican leadership in the Senate and George Bush as president, and the House of Democrats passed a piecemeal bills, one funding the National Institute of Health so kids with cancer could get treatment, one funding veterans benefits, one funding the opening of all those public parks and facilities, and the Republican Senate never even brought it to a vote, and the president said, even if they do, I'll veto it. Can you imagine the hell that would have been paid by every day you would have had to face those questions?
If you're making the case that there's bias in the mainstream
I know,
media,
but yeah.
I'm the choir, and you're a good preacher.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. I did think about that during that fight, how different it would be. Look, you could have easily made the case back then. House passes bill to keep government open. Clinton shuts government. Or it could have been the other way around. House passes bill to defund Obamacare, shuts down government. You know, they're both accurate, but the press only gives you one side of the story. So be it. It still did not, even when you allow for media bias, the American people did not like what the Republicans in Congress were doing. And my point here is Obamacare is the biggest story there is. Obamacare is going to do tremendous damage to people's access to health insurance. It's going to do tremendous damage to people being able to afford health insurance. And as we see now, it's taking insurance away from people who currently have it and like it. The focus should be on that. And we should not overplay our hand in how to undo it.
Yeah, no,
I agree. Let people see the problems that are present in Obamacare, and it will start to unravel on its own, as you're seeing now. But the Constitution is still supreme. We cannot repeal a law if you can't get it passed through the Senate and signed by the president. And Republicans have to remember that at all times.
True. Only the president apparently could pick and choose which laws to enforce and which parts of laws to enforce, which is another issue. All right, we got 2 minutes left, and as the president and founder of Fleischer Sports PR, the Dolphins, you're a big Dolphins fan, and this has got to be driving you nuts. What's your take on that whole situation?
I'm a Dolphin nut, and first of all, I was upset because even when they had Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin on the line, they allowed too many sacks.
Yep.
And against Tampa Bay, now with both of them out of the line, they got 2 yards on 14 rushes.
Unbelievable.
In the entire game.
Yeah.
So, but from just a pure PR point of view, Richie Incognito has now spoken to the media and answered questions. The Dolphin owner, Steve Ross, has spoken to the media and answered questions. The only person missing is Jonathan Martin, who's the person who began all of this. I think it's his turn. People need to hear from him. He's made some important and strong allegations. He has proof, apparently, to back it up. But he has to answer the questions now. It's really not right for him to do what he did, say what he did, and then not tell anybody anything publicly. It's hard to make judgments unless everybody is talking.
Absolutely. And the NFL, of course, wouldn't let the ownership talk to him. Because they're conducting their own investigation. But as a Dolphins fan, it's got to be killing. I mean, that was a nationally televised game. Tampa was winless going into it, and it was just it wasn't even fun to watch.
Brutal. Dolphins open up 3-0, and now they're 4-5. You know, when you start strong, and you hit this patch, it's a killer for a fan like me.
Hey, Ari, great to talk to you. I hope you'll come back, sir.
Steve, my pleasure.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. That's Ari Fleischer, ladies and gentlemen, former